Doing another Chris Rock, Will Smith clip because there seems to be no amount of stupid that people can say about this. I found the worst offender. You guys remember the Mac and PC ads from back in the day? This is the Mac guy. Although you'd think from his attitude he'd be the PC guys. This is the Serfs reacting to Joe Rogan reacting to Will Smith attacking Chris Rock at the Oscars. And I'm reacting to his reacting to Joe Rogan's reacting because the entire world is on acid now, I guess.
That's what this is. He's a little worried.
Chris Rock said one of the most mild jokes ever.
It was pretty mild.
I
I thought
think it is bald. Apparently, I didn't know this. I found out after the fact that she didn't shave her head voluntarily. She shaved her head because she's suffering from alopecia.
Yeah, I didn't know this either.
So I don't know if Chris knew this, but Chris says a joke around.
Nobody knew it. I'm surprised I even know who Jada Pinkett Smith is. I only know her because she was in Menace to Society. But the Serfs has lied and said that not only did Chris Rock know, but that she had alopecia, but that's what the joke was about. The joke was about her being bald. Now, you gotta have a lot of hate in your heart for comedy to feel the need to lie about someone's motivations like that. He has no evidence of anything that he's claiming about this. But he says it anyways because he needs to justify this act of violence.
Around
G.I.
Jane 2, looking forward to it. Very mild. Just laughed. And even said, come on, that was nice. And then Will Smith initially laughs.
Yes.
But it looked like Jada was upset.
Mm-hmm.
And so Will changes his tune, walks on stage, and smacks Chris Rock in the face at the Oscars. And then...
Why does everyone keep talking about this as if it's like, if everyone else wasn't laughing, so if no one was laughing, then perhaps it could be warranted. But because also Will Smith laughed.
Okay, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, so I'm just going to say what I think. Generally speaking, I think a comedian should be allowed to say whatever they want to say. I think any artist, any playwright or filmmaker or musician, rapper or whatever, poet, painter, photographer, should be free to express themselves in any manner short of a snuff film. I don't even feel comfortable with criticism that's not directly related to the work itself. I think people should, if they don't know what they're talking about, just don't. I don't feel that way about information. I think disinformation should be I think information should... Let me put it to you this way. Colin Quinn used to do a bit about how Saddam Hussein tricked the United States into believing that he had WMDs. That would just be lunatic ravings on a comedy stage that nobody would take seriously. The only reason somebody would take that seriously is because Scott Paley at 60 Minutes said the same thing. Now, it's not true, but if Scott Paley was not allowed to say that, if there were legal repercussions for him knowingly lying us into a war in Iraq, then whatever Colin Quinn says would be completely irrelevant and is seen as nothing more than comedy. Disinformation is where I draw the line, personally, when it comes to free speech. Now, I don't know what's motivating the Serfs to contradict every position they've ever had in regards to unwarranted authority and unwarranted violence, unprovoked violence. I have no idea. I'm sure he had perfectly sane Rittenhouse takes. And much like Rittenhouse did not belong and shouldn't have even been at that BLM protest in the first place, Will Smith should not have been at the Academy Awards in the first place because he sucks. His movies are trash. I think often of... I mean, there's a certain amount of people who are politically correct because they were raised conservative, and so they bring a lot of that sort of hall monitor baggage to the table. But I don't think that that's the case here. I think the case here is something more akin to that episode of Mad Men when Don Draper said about the accounting department, they can't do what we do, and they hate us for it. Which makes the Serfs the accounting department, and I'm Don Draper. If you watch the show, that's not necessarily the boast that you think it is. I think these guys are nerds. They're very analytical, so their politics are straight. But when it comes to comedy, it's something they can't understand, and we tend to hate things we don't understand. I mean, his cultural tastes are probably limited to lightsabers. He doesn't understand creativity, and he can't do it. And then at a certain level, he wants to do it. And he's about to verify my theory shortly.
Laughed. Because he laughed at the joke, he's not allowed to be upset by the joke. That's the thing. Like, have you never been in the midst of either laughing at things that are taking place around you, or just smiling as someone's saying something terrible and be like, all right, motherfucker, I'm gonna slap you upside the head pretty soon, right? In the middle of it.
And says, keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth.
Yes, he does.
And then he goes, come on, man, that was a G.I. Jane joke. And he screams it out like...
Keep my wife's
Yeah,
name
yeah.
out your fucking mouth.
And
Yes.
it's like his lips were quivering. And he... First of all, that whole scene, doing that, in that manner, in that place...
Once you've heard one comedian on the issue, you've heard them all. Well, I don't completely agree with that. I consider myself to be a comedian, and I think...
And there it is, folks. That's what I was looking for. I hate people steal. I don't want to put comedians on a pedestal. That's corny. But it annoys me far more. Somebody falsely identifying themselves as a comedian, providing no evidence of comedy writing or performing experience whatsoever, and then just saying they're a comedian. They're a comedian simply because they say so. Simply because they fake laugh at things they don't agree with, and every once in a while talk in a funny voice. And therefore, they're a comedian. Those people to me are worse than joke thieves. Because say what you want about a joke thief, but at least a joke thief recognizes a good joke when they hear one. Plagiarism is the highest form of flattery. I believe that's an expression. I've asked this guy for evidence of him being a comedian. He can't present any. He doesn't even know anything about comedy. He's about to proceed to prove that. He doesn't know anything about comedy. He's never performed sketches, skits. He's never written a joke. He's never performed on a stage. He's never written a tight five and done it in front of 20 people in a bar. And yet, he calls himself a comedian. No wonder he's mad.
I think these takes are super yikesy.
Yikesy.
Jake Flores would
Yikesy.
highly recommend. He's a performing comedian in New York. He hosts Pod Damn America. He's made some really good posts about it.
I know who Jake Flores is. I get into arguments with him on Twitter all the time. He's a comedian who hates comedians. I saw him at a bar here doing 15 minutes, and it was like average. He did pretty good. I'm doing that same show this Sunday, and I'm going to do a lot better. And I mean that. I sincerely mean that. Jake Flores hates comedians. He's cultivated an audience of people like the Serfs, who also hate comedians. There was another guy that did that. His name is Jamie Kilstein, and you're probably wondering who Jamie Kilstein is. Jamie Kilstein is wondering that same thing. Jamie Kilstein's audience abandoned him because he had cultivated an audience who were led to believe that comedians are these horrible people who just say terrible things about anybody out of hate. And he ended up being ousted by that group. They hate him now. They left him. They abandoned him. Jake Flores is the same way. Jake Flores, the comedy industry, like most industries under capitalism, is corrupt. It's not based on meritocracy. You know, something like 80% of the jobs in America are gotten through someone you know. Same thing in comedy. Most of this business is stuff that you do off stage, and truly, you know, a lot of very creative people are just not good off stage. They're socially awkward. They accidentally insult people when they don't mean to. You know, whatever. There's a lot of problem people who do this very well. The business of comedy is mostly done off stage. It's mostly done through relationships. It's mostly done through bartering and negotiating and trading value for one another, to one another. That's why most comedians that make pretty good money suck. Flores doesn't hate that system. He's fine with it. He's benefiting from that system. He hates comedians themselves. He's constantly railing against open mic comics. Open mic comics are really just regular people. Some of them are parents. A lot of them are older women. A lot of them are older men, too. They just sort of want to have a chance to be a part of a community. A lot of times they're comedy fans, and one way that they can be closer to the comedians they admire is to become their peers. You know, when you're at the very bottom rung, the group that Flores despises, a lot of times they try to be very supportive. There are a lot of ambitious people who will backstab and whatnot that make a bad name for people. But for the most part, they're just nice people who want a chance to express themselves and be a part of a community. Flores despises those people. That's why he appeals to somebody like the Serfs. And the reason why, I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. I will say, listen, I think I said everything, but I will say this. I don't believe that story about Jake Flores that's going around all over the internet. I did poetry before I did comedy, and so I've been going to mics my whole life. And I've never seen a mentally disabled girl just hanging out in the parking lot, much less getting into a car with a stranger. That's absolutely absurd. Probably impossible, frankly.